So, let us make it clear that what are the steps to be carried out for memory read operation. And you know that memory read operation means the data will be transferred from memory to microprocessor. Memory write operations means the data will be transferred from microprocessor to memory, right. And what is input read operation? The data is there in the input buffer of an input device, from where the data will be transferred to microprocessor. And memory IO write operation means you will understand the data is already available at the microprocessor and which will be transferred to the output device. Output device means if it is a monitor, it will be displayed, if it is a printer, it will be printed, and depending upon the characteristics of the output device, the data will be made available at the output device. And these are the 4 operations all the time a microprocessor performs, right. And all these 4 operations are taking place independently, autonomously under the control of microprocessor. And how to control and coordinate these operations? With the help of timing and control unit. Okay. So, this is the procedure to be followed for memory read operation. But before that, what are the resources required to carry out the memory read operation? You can observe from this diagram. In the left side there is a microprocessor 8085 which is an IC, and in the right side there is a memory. Now we will ignore the types of memory. This is what we are discussing about the semiconductor memories, because the magnetic memories are treated as the IO devices, right. Suppose you are reading the data from a disk, floppy disk or magnetic disk or hard disk, then that will be treated as the device. That will come under the IO operation, input and output operation. So, as far as the memory is concerned, we are discussing about the primary memory, or we call semiconductor memory, or we call the core memory. All 3 remains the meaning of all these 3 are same, right. So, to carry out memory read operation, what are the minimum resources required? One, that we should have 8085 microprocessor or any microprocessor in general, and in the right side we must have the memory and we must have system bus. And already we classified the system bus into 3 types. One is address bus. So, this is the address bus, this is the address bus, and this is data bus, and this is the control bus. And these are the 3 resources required to carry the memory read operation. So, what is the memory? As I told you that you will understand that all kinds of semiconductor memories, or we call the digital memories, they are all divided into number of locations, and each location is divided into number of cells, and each cell is capable of storing either 0 or 1, or it can be a flip flop, or it can be a transistor with a capacitor to support the dynamic cell. The cells are of again 2 types, one is called static cell, another is called dynamic cell, right. So, example of static cell is flip flop, and example of dynamic cell is a transistor with a capacitor. We shall discuss more about this, how the characteristic of the static cell is different from the dynamic cell. So, now to carry out the memory read operation, it is the microprocessor 8085 initially will load this address into program counter, and already I have told you program counter is a special register which will hold the address of a location in the memory from where the data is to be read, right. So, program counter step 1, program counter is loaded with 16-bit address, memory address of course. Then once the and since program counter is a 16-bit register, there is a 16-bit address bus. So, there is a 1-to-1 correspondence between each cell of the program counter and one line of the address bus, right. So, the program counter content, that is PC0 to PC15, now will be transferred to A0 to A15. A0 to A15 is the address bus where the address will be loaded. Now, this address bus will be used to locate a particular location in the memory. So, in the step 3 you can see decodes the address bus and identifies the memory location. Now, this address bus will be decoded. What is the meaning of decoded and why it is necessary? Because there are how many locations? We have 64 kilobytes, 64 kilo locations, and because of these 16 address lines, we are able to locate 64 kilobytes of memory, right. So, it is basically a decoder 16:64 KB. So, by suppose you have a 2 to 4 decoder, you know how to transfer this 2 input to one of the line from the 4, isn't it? If you recall the decoder design, so if you give 2 inputs, it will select one out of these 4 combinations. To make it more clear, so let us take a 2 to 4 decoder. So, here because of these 2 inputs, I will get 0 0, 0 1, 1 0 or 1 1, 4 combinations. So, assume that whenever I am giving 0 0, this line is selected, and whenever it is 0 1, second line will be selected. That is the function of decoder. And whenever I give 1 0, suppose 2 is selected, 1 0 means 2, right, and 1 1 means 3. And to activate this decoder, I must use a control signal. Unless this control signal is active, whatever input you give, that will not be available at the output. For every IC, there must be a control signal to make that input made available to output, right. So, this is a 2 to 4 decoder. Similarly, you can also design a 3 to 8 decoder. 3 bits means you will get 8 combinations, and one out of that 8 will be selected or identified under the control of a control signal, right. So, the 3 to 8. Similarly, we can have 4 to 16. So, in general, n is 2 to the power n. So, what is the value of n in this case? N is 16. So, 2 to the power 16, I can get 64 locations, 64 kilo locations, and I can easily identify one location based upon these 16 address lines. Okay. So, obviously, the starting address will be all zeros, that is all 16 zeros, and the final address will be all ones. So, to simplify this, we will use 0 0 0 0 in hexadecimal, and last address will be FF FF H. Most often you should not confuse with this H. H will be attached because of the hexadecimal digit. Is it okay? So, by using this decoder, we can easily identify a particular location, and which location will be identified? The address which is available in the address bus, and that is a unique combination. We cannot have same location cannot have more than one combination, right. So, since 16 address lines are there, 2 to the power 16 combinations are possible, and one out of this combination will refer to a memory location where the data is available. Assume that data is already available in that location. So, because of step 3, by using a decoder, we can identify a memory location from where the data is to be read. That is step 3. In the step 4, what happens? Now, it is memory read operation. So, read control signal will be generated from the microprocessor, and this is an active low signal. Whenever I will put a bar, you will understand that it is active low signal. That means, whenever it is 0, it will perform its operation, or whenever it is 1, it is disabled, it will not be performing. Am I clear? So, in the step 4, the memory IC gets enabled. Gets enabled means now that particular location is ready to transfer the data, but not during this period when the control signal is given to the memory. After few microseconds, you will see that the byte which is available in that location, which is already identified, that will be loaded into the data bus, that is D0 to D7. That is the multiplexed bus. As I told you, initially it will be treated as A0 to A7, but whenever step 4 is completed, that will be treated as D0 to D7. And how this is possible, we shall see. So, initially it will be holding the address, because unless you have the 16-bit address, we cannot identify a memory location. Therefore, A0 to A15 completely will be addressed for a particular point of time when the address location when the memory location is to be identified. And once the memory location is identified, this address bus will be changed to data bus, so that the content of that location will be available from D0 to D7. Is it clear? So that means in the next moment, if you want to read another location, memory location content, again it will be A0 to A7. So this switching from A0 to A7, D0 to D7 is known as multiplexing. And this multiplexing operation is possible with the help of another control signal, that is called address latch enable, ALE. Because this is basically a machine, we have to store this address somewhere before the data is being loaded to the data bus. Because once the data bus is loaded into that A0 to A7, the address will disappear. It is simply a where, either it will carry 0 or 1, nothing else. Therefore, we must latch. But when to latch? That will be controlled through the ALE. When the ALE signal is high, it will be holding address. So, A0 to A15 will be treated as A0 to A15. Whenever ALE signal low, it will be treated as D0 to D7. Very simple. And the timing will be maintained, and the study or the designer has suggested that how many clock periods are required to store the data or address temporarily, that we shall see with a particular convention which we call the timing diagram. For every instruction, for every operation, we can show the activities using the timing diagram. So, timing diagram is very, very important, and we will draw the timing diagram for each and every activity of the microprocessor, right. So, now if the data is available in the address data bus D0 to D7, this can be transferred to microprocessor, and we know that there are number of registers available inside the microprocessor. So, in one of the register we can store it, and once the data is stored, then this data will be useful for processing. Is it okay? Now, one confusion or question comes. Whenever we see this data, microprocessor treats each and every location as a data, but that data may be the opcode of an instruction, or it can be data operand which is operated on the opcode. Okay, so initially it will be treated as the data, everything is data for microprocessor, but whenever it is coming to microprocessor, there is called instruction interpreter that will interpret that instruction, whether it is matching with an opcode. If it is matching, then it is an instruction, and if it is matching as an operand, it will be treated as operand. So, how to identify opcode and how to identify operand, that is a very, very important thing to understand, right. So, I can give an example. Suppose if I write add B, here A is implicit, accumulator A is implicit. So, the meaning is that content of accumulator will be added with the content of B, and the result will be stored in A. A plus B is equal to A. Is it okay? So, here you can see which is opcode, you can easily identify. Add is the opcode, operation to be performed, and B is the operand. And what is the corresponding code? In the last class lab we have seen for add B, what is the code? Hex code 80. So, 80 is the treated as the opcode, but 80 means what? 1000 and 0 means 0000, 8 bits, but initially it is treated as the data by the microprocessor, and once it comes to the microprocessor will interpret. There is an interpretation logic available, right. So, once you know it is opcode, then its processing will be different, and if it is data, its processing will be different. And who is going to process? It is the arithmetic and logic unit. Okay. So, this is the memory read operation. If I tell you write the same 6 steps for memory write operation, you can observe step 1 remains same. Whether it is a memory read operation or memory write operation, step 1 remains same, because program counter has to be loaded with the corresponding memory location address where the data is to be written, because this time the data transfer will be taking place from microprocessor to memory. In the memory read operation, the data is transferred from memory to microprocessor, but for memory write operation, the data is to be transferred from microprocessor to memory. Therefore, step 1, whether it is a memory read operation or memory write operation, we need a memory location address. Therefore, step 1 remains common. What is the step 2? Is it common? or not? Yes, because PC0 to PC15 must be transferred to A0 to A15 irrespective whether it is memory read operation or memory write operation. You can easily understand from this. What about the step 3? That is also common. Why? Because at any cost we have to identify a location. Okay. But step 4 has to be different. Why? This time not read signal, rather we should send write signal. That time what about the read signal condition? It must be inactive. So, this must be 1, this must be 0. Whenever you want to do the memory read operation, this must be 0 and write must be 1. And how to generate this signal? Again with the help of decoder, that we shall see. Is it okay? So, step 4 is different. Instead of read bar signal, you have to send the write bar signal, right? And this is also an active low signal. Whenever it is 0, its operation is active. Then step 5, whether it is same or it has to be different, it will be just reverse, because this time the memory write operation, the data is available already at the microprocessor 8085, and this data bus contents will be transferred to a memory location which has been already identified by step 4. From step 1 to step 4, job is to identify a location and getting that location prepared to store something till step 4. And when the step 5 comes, microprocessor is sending the data through the data bus, and from data bus it will be handed over to the memory location which has been already identified, which is already selected. Is it okay? So, what is the step 6? Just do the reverse. Transfer the data from microprocessor to memory location. Did you understand? And of course, the same steps will not be useful for the input read and input write. Why? Because as far as the input read and input write is concerned, the program counter has less role. Because as far as the memory is concerned, program counter is a register always refers to memory location address. Okay. So, whenever input read or input write operation is to be carried out, these steps will be different, where the PC will be less likely used. So, why I am telling less likely to be used? There are two different schemes to address the IOs. One is called memory mapped IO, another is called IO mapped IO. In IO mapped IO, we can assign an 8-bit address which will be directly sent by the microprocessor to identify an input device. So, whereas in the memory mapped IO, we shall treat as if every location is an IO device. So, accessing a memory location, it is same as accessing an IO, but which is virtual or logical. In reality, there will be input output devices, but the address of that IO devices will be present in a memory location. So, what is the disadvantage of this? For storing the IO device addresses, few locations must be reserved so that user cannot access those locations. Otherwise, there will be mishandling of the input output devices. So, you can see that we can never access the 0th location in microprocessor kit. Why? Because few locations from the top 00 to BFFF, it is reserved for the different types of functions, system functions, that we shall see one by one what are those system functions, and for which so around 1/4 of the memory space is preoccupied. So, only 3/4 of the only 3/4 of the memory is available to the user for programming, and that also happens in digital computer. 1/4 of the space is occupied by the operating systems, system routines, and power and self test routines, post and BIOS, basic input output system, right. So, anyway, again we shall see the memory mapped and IO mapped IO, and how the different IO devices are accessed using these two different techniques. But what is the advantage of the memory mapped IO? That is the disadvantage, because few locations are reserved for the IO devices. Is there any advantage? Can anybody tell what is the advantage? So, already I have told you, microprocessor is the fastest device, the next lower device is the memory, and the next lower device is the IO devices. And memory, since is faster than the IO devices, the moment you store the address in the memory location, the accessing of IOs and the data transfer will be faster. So, that is the advantage side, but again whether you should follow IO mapped IO or memory mapped IO, that is again depending upon the application and depending upon the types of devices you are interfacing to the microprocessor 8085. So, anyway, so this is the memory read operation, and similarly you can see the memory write operation and IO read operation and IO write operation. So, now we shall see what are the different architectural components of the 8085 based systems. We call 8085 system. Microprocessor in one part, memory is in another part, and IO devices are another part. See, except the microprocessor and memory, whatever things you are seeing in the microprocessor kits, they are treated as the IO devices, right. So, the organization of the microprocessor kit is like this. You can see there is a microprocessor here 8085. In the side of 8085 there is a called DMA controller 8257, and there is called clock generator 8284, and there is interrupt controller called 8259. All these are called the peripheral chips, and these chips itself need some addressing, right. Every entity except microprocessor should be addressed, should be given an address. So, therefore, except memory, all other devices you are seeing on the microprocessor kit are called the IOs, input and output devices, and sometimes in some books they write peripheral devices, right. And we are supposed to discuss each and every chip which are available in the microprocessor kit other than microprocessor 8085. Of course, 8085 we have to completely explore each and every components. So, what are the different components of microprocessor 8085? So, the important component is ALU, that is arithmetic unit, then we have logic unit, then we have okay. So, ALU arithmetic unit and logic unit, and we have a timing and control unit, and we have a set of registers, and we have system bus. These are the 4 components inside microprocessor 8085. So, what is arithmetic unit? What are the different operations? What are the arithmetic operations? You can list down. Number 1, suppose all arithmetic operations. Remember, whenever you write the arithmetic operation, always you should focus on the type of microprocessor we are discussing, because many microprocessors may not have all capabilities, right, or all microprocessors will not have all capabilities. For example, 8085 microprocessor cannot multiply directly, cannot perform division. So, is it audible to the last bench? Okay. So, multiplication division operations are not allowed, and this is where the arithmetic operation whatever you have studied in mathematics are little bit deviating. There are many mathematical operations which are coming under arithmetic operations, but cannot be done by the arithmetic unit of any microprocessor. So, here one constant of or limitation of 8085 is that it does not support multiplication instruction and a division instruction. And what other things constant is there? It cannot also support the fractional multiplication and fractional addition, fractional, but arithmetic operation in mathematics it allows. If I want to add 2.5 plus 6.2, it is possible in mathematics, but there is no direct instruction available in 8085. And we shall see that the direct instruction is available in advanced microprocessors. There you can do the fractional operations also. And another constant is that it cannot allow exponentiation. It cannot find out the sine functions, cosine, sine. These are not possible simply. Of course, when the 8085 was developed, that time these were not required, right. But in advanced microprocessor, you can see even the 8086 allows all these operations. That is why the instruction set of 8086, as I told you, is very rich as compared to 8085. So, anyway, so arithmetic operation if you list exactly, because why the listing is necessary, corresponding to every arithmetic instruction. So, there must be instruction available in the instruction set. Okay. So, the first operation is addition, and we have well known addition instructions. I will tell the exact syntax and semantics of each of these instruction. Then it also support subtraction, and it also support arithmetic and logic operation. Exhaustively you can write. Then it supports logical AND, then logical OR, logical XOR, and NOT operation means we call it as complement, and it supports increment by 1, decrement by 1, rotate, left shift, right shift, clear. These are the only arithmetic and logic operations supported by 8085 microprocessor. And the moment I told that these are all allowed operations in 8085, you will understand that there must be corresponding instructions. At least there must be one instruction for each of these. But nowhere you can see I have mentioned exponentiation. I have not mentioned the tangent operation or cosine operation. That means you will understand that these are not allowed by 8085. Only thing you have to know what is the syntax, how to write the assembly language code for each of these operations. And we are not supposed to write the hex codes, because this will be the manual will be given and the instruction sheet will be given in the laboratory class, and in theory exam also will never expect that you write the program in hex code. But certainly the syntax and semantics, you know what is syntax and semantics of each and every assembly language code should be very clear. And there may be a confusion, because for the same addition operation we have different types of syntaxes. But anyway, the number of types is very limited, so you can easily understand and remember the way we write these operations. Then the second component is, okay, before going to timing and control unit, let us go through registers. What are the different types of registers supported by microprocessor 8085? So, already I have told you there are 6 general purpose registers of 8 bit each, that is B, C, D, E, H, L. Accumulator is a special purpose register, it is not general purpose. Why? Always it will hold the one of the operand, and when the operation is over it will hold the result. In that way it is special. So, there are 3 register pairs BC, DE and HL. Am I clear? So, there are 6 8-bit independent registers, and there are 3 pair registers where we can pair. B can be paired with C, D can be paired with E, H can be paired with L, but B cannot be paired with D. The only these 3 pairs are possible, right? And out of these 3 pairs, HL pair is having a special capability, that I will tell you what is the speciality about HL register pair. BCD you can treat in a general, but HL has a special role, right? And why these register pairs are available? To support 16-bit operations at a time. And whatever I am telling, there will be corresponding instructions. 16-bit operation means there are 16-bit opcodes are also available. There are opcodes available which will allow the 16-bit operation. And one 16-bit stack pointer, and one 16-bit program counter, and there is an instruction register, and there is a temporary register, and there is a program status word register. So, program status word register is accumulator plus flag register. Is it okay? So, these are the set of registers available in microprocessor 8085. Okay, these are available in the net, or if you follow the book, it is available already. So, what is the flag register? So, these are the exact position of the flag, different 5 flags. So, since it is an 8-bit register, there are 8 cells, and out of 8 cells only 5 cells are used, because 8085 supports only 5 flags, and the remaining wherever I have put cross mark, this remains unused. They thought of using in future, but before that 8086 came, therefore, this remains blank, right. So, these 5 flags are named like this. CY stands for carry flag, Z stands for 0 flag, and the positions are also important. You cannot write the 0 flag position arbitrarily. It is appearing in the second cell of, means you have to know that it is available in the second position, right. Then SC stands for auxiliary carry flag, and P stands for parity flag, and A stands for sign flag. And these flags are very easy to understand, in the sense that whenever the result of the operation is generating a carry. For example, I am adding 1 0 0 0 0 1 1 1, you can see here 1 plus 1 0 with carry 1 0 1 0 1 0 0 0 1 1, right. So, now you can see the result is 8 bits, and there is an extra bit generated, and this is supposed to be the carry. Is it clear? When the result of the operation exceeds 8 bits, we get a carry, and the carry flag will be set. This particular position will be set to 1, right. So, if you test this cell, you can know whether carry flag is set or reset. We have also instruction to identify whether this particular cell is having 1 or 0. Is it okay? And we do not have any borrow flag in 8085. Therefore, the carry flag will also serve as the borrow flag. But when the borrow will be generated? Whenever we are subtracting a number, a bigger number from a smaller number, there will be a shortage of 1. So, that time also this carry flag will be set to 1. Am I clear? So, when the result of the operation exceeds 8 bits, this flag will be set to 1, and even the borrow is generated, for that also this flag will be set to 1. Okay. So, what is the 0 flag? So, this particular bit position will be 0 when the result of the operation is 0. For example, I am subtracting 5 from 5, result is 0. This time the 0 flag will be set to 1. So, what is the use of this 0 flag? Suppose you want to initialize a register. To make that register contain all zeros, you can make use of this. We shall see how to use each of these flags extensively, particularly whenever you want to keep a loop to maintain a few instructions, or the repeated execution of few instructions will be performed through a loop, and that loop will be controlled via these flag registers or flags, right. So, then what is parity flag? Parity flag means if the number of ones in the result, including the parity bits, should be odd, it should be 5, 7, 3, like that. Is it okay? So, from this we can understand that here it follows odd parity scheme. The number of ones including the parity bit should be odd. Is it okay? Then what is sign flag? When the result of the operation is negative, the sign flag will be set to 1, otherwise it will be reset to 0. That means, if the result of the operation is a positive, then this will be set to 0. Is it okay? Then what is the auxiliary carry flag? So, here the 9th bit is generated in the carry. When the 9th bit is generated as 1, we say carry flag is 1. But after adding the first or least significant 4 bits with another 4 bits, if the 5th bit is generated, then this flag will be set to 1. But we have the instruction for all these 4 flags except the auxiliary carry flag. There is no instruction available in 8085 which will by which you can access the AC or auxiliary carry flag, right. But it is there in some forms. We shall see that auxiliary carry flag is also useful, but there is no direct instruction available by which you can access the AC. but for all these 4 flags we have the direct instructions. For example, if I write jump on 0, if the 0 flag is set to 1, jump on 0, I will give the memory location address this. The controller will be transferred to that location address provided the 0 flag is set to 1. And by default, if the 0 flag is reset, the next following line will be treated as the not 0 condition by default. So, once you write 1 or 2 programs, it will be very clear how to use each of these flags and depending upon the program or applications. So, anyway, so remember whenever we have some resources in a microprocessor and to access that resources, only way to monitor the activities of that instruction is through that operation through instruction. There is no other way to know what is the content of a memory location or what is the content of a register. Therefore, only by using the instructions you can know the status of each and every component of the microprocessor, right. So, these instructions are the instruction set architecture or the instruction set is the most powerful component of a microcomputer based or microprocessor based system design, right. So, anyway, let us solve a small problem how to keep track these flags. Example, determine, you can write this, determine the status of different flags after addition of 07, H stands for hexadecimal and CF, S stands for hexadecimal. You will understand 07 and CF. That means add 07 to CFH. So, 07 means 00, 0, 1, 1, 1 and CF means 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1 and the result is 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. So, this is the answer. So, why sign flag is set to 1? Because you can see the leftmost bit is 1, right. That means the result is negative. And SC is 1, why? Because 5th bit is generated after addition. Then why 0 flag is set to 0 not 1? Because the result of the operation is non-zero. If it is non-zero, Z flag will be set to 0. If it is 0 only, the 0 flag will be set to 1. And why parity flag is 0? Because the number of 1s including the parity bit should be odd, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and this is 0. So, total 5 is odd number. Is it clear? Then why carry flag is 0? Because there is no carry generated. If the carry is generated, then it will be 1. So, likewise we shall you can take a number of examples and from that you can show the status of each of these flags. So, just I am giving an assignment to know the status of. So, find out the status of different flags after addition of CH and 9BH. After adding C and 9B, what is the status of the, what are the different status of different flags? We completed ALU and registers, then we shall see the other components, timing and control operations. After that directly we will go to the instruction set architecture, where you will feel comfortable in writing the program in laboratory classes. Okay, so let us first clear the basics, then once the basics are over, then we will go to the instruction set architecture, which is the most important component of this microprocessor.